everybody. I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but I know it's been a minute since I've made a video, but I feel like I wanted to talk about this one thing, and I hope you'll bear with me because I woke up a little earlier than usual, and I am feeling it. So my brain is moving a little slowly, but this message felt important, and just on brand with, what I want to share and whatnot. But basically, I want to talk about being seen and why it's so uncomfortable. And also, I want to offer some encouragement for anybody who's in a situation where you know that your, purpose or mission here on earth right now, or something that you have to do, or even something that you have coming up, requires you to allow yourself to be seen. And I think specifically, if you have maybe grown up, or you don't have the strongest internal concept of self, or you've been through bullying or abuse or whatever it is, those chronic lies about your identity, your image, they can just sink in and cut really, really deep. And so when it comes to, when you're finally at a place in your life where you're able to share who you are and really just express the core of who you are and open that up and let it be seen by the right people and the wrong people. Because the thing is that when you share and you allow yourself to be seen, you can't always control your audience. You can't always control who has access to viewing you. And if you can, that's great. I don't know how, I don't know. I think there's layers, there's tiers, there's filters. You can choose how much you want to expose and where and when. But there's a certain point where the opening you have to create in order to make the connections that you're meant to make, or fulfill the purpose that you feel called to fulfill. And I'm speaking in my case. This doesn't necessarily have to apply to everybody who puts themselves out there, but I do think it's an inherent risk in, or reality in putting yourself out there, that the wrong people are going to see you sometimes. And one of the things that you might have to learn to face when you are learning to share your truth and your voice more are the judgments of other people, and also potentially your blind spots, the areas where you think that maybe you could you could do better, or you're doing something that you're not aware of that someone points out, or the more that you expose yourself over time, the more that certain things become obvious to different people, I guess. I don't know. Hi again, sorry for the cutoff. I obviously stopped and restarted at a later time, but one of the things else that I wanted to say, one of the other things I wanted to say was, when you put yourself out there, for some people there might be some kind of a fear of being seen because you don't know what it's like to experience a sense of receptivity, safety, encouragement, celebration, validation, really feeling seen and reflected for who you truly are on the outside. And that can stunt the process of delivering your gifts. It's a tough one. I'm in a situation where I don't share because I want to be validated. I don't share because I want to make some kind of image of myself. I mean, on some level, I think everybody, conscious or unconscious, tries to curate an image of themselves, and you're certainly not seeing all of me on this video. You're seeing a version of me. You're seeing a few versions of me. You're not seeing the innermost stuff that I don't put on the internet. I do share very, very personally, but you know what I mean? There are certain things that just don't ever leave my own privacy. And I just want to talk about this. I think that's the best way to articulate what I'm trying to say. But when I was a child, I didn't feel encouraged to make a lot of mistakes. I had to walk on eggshells a lot of the time to breathe in the right direction, to do the right thing, especially at home. Because if I was imperfect, meaning that's so funny. I have that I Am app, and the banner just popped up that said, I love my vulnerability. So perfect timing on that. But yeah, okay, gotta pause this again. Okay, sorry for all the distractions. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't feel very safe to make mistakes, which is not convenient for being a human, because humans are notorious mistake makers. Humans are notoriously imperfect. And that's not a negative thing. There's nothing to be ashamed about for that. But I think that I am so wired, or I should say conditioned to speak a certain way and express myself a certain way. I had the experience consistently throughout my childhood where I was silenced, and even throughout my adolescence and teenage and young adulthood I was silenced through systemic abusive situations, whether it was family or institutions or whatever else. And that kind of thing, as you probably know, does not leave very easily. So I was just reflecting on this the other day when I watched a video about somewhat like speaking your truth, but also just being seen and sharing your voice and sharing your mission. And I wanted to be a voice of encouragement and validation, and hopefully witnessing, through reflecting on my own experiences and reflecting those back to hopefully whoever needs to hear them, to be a source of encouragement, and also to be somewhat vulnerable and share that this is something that I struggle with from time to time. I mean, very frequently, actually. I had this YouTube channel, and I actually had a bunch of videos up years ago, and I've always done things like this. How old was I? I don't even know. Maybe like around 5 to 7 years ago, I used to sit in front of my laptop like I do these days, and I would make long videos about like all these spiritual life kinds of topics and things. And there was a point, and I also had a Spotify podcast, and there was a point I got so self-conscious about my messages, just like after sitting on them for a long time, and I decided to archive them. Might bring them back at some point, I don't know. But all this is to say that on a very frequent basis, I come up against what I feel like is self-criticism and judgment, and I try to acknowledge when that comes up that it's not from me, it's not who I am, it's what I've been shown and taught and conditioned by all these, sources around me. So when that happens, I try to, for one thing, be kind and gentle with myself, and if it doesn't feel like I have the resources inside to share my voice, if I don't feel like I can handle that level of exposure, then I will pull back, Some days I would post multiple times a day, and I loved it. it. And then other days or other weeks I would post like once a week, and I would feel a little sad about it, to be honest, because I'm passionate about what I'm doing right here, right now. I got a funny text. I don't always, feel like super emotionally, I don't know how to put this into words. I don't always feel very, I guess just very moved to like make videos. What I should say is this: sometimes I feel held back by my own insecurities, and by my own fear of how I'm gonna say what I am trying to say and how it's gonna be delivered and how people are gonna perceive me. I am terrified of judgment, but here I am, I'm not shutting my voice, I'm not closing my voice. I feel like the act of sharing on purpose directly puts me face to face with that fear, because I'm literally in the fear. There's nowhere to go. I'm in it. People are judging me, and I'm gonna have to face that and learn how to be with that and how to rediscover myself underneath, the dust, so to speak, that is kicked up by people who judge me. And that's kind of the reason why I'm making this video, is because I want to be an example, and I want to kind of offer like a safe, soft, gentle hand to you to say, I love you, I'm your friend, I'm here walking with you, and I want to encourage you. I really, really, really want to be a friend to myself and to whoever comes across my channel and needs what I have to share, because it's not easy. It's not easy to be committed to your purpose, because a lot of the time, like, living on purpose requires you to excavate and honestly incinerate all of the aspects of you that are hindering your authentic vision of yourself. I'm just thinking of this is just coming to mind now. There is a Kriya breathwork yoga practice called Sudarshan Kriya. I believe it translates to pure vision of the self. I think Kriya means self, and Sudarshan is like pure vision or something. I think. I could be wrong, but it does translate to something like pure vision of the self. And when we do these somatic breathing exercises, when we tap into states in our nervous system that actually allow our physical bodies to process and expel and release emotional chemicals that are released during times of stress or any emotion, they need to be processed through the body, and they're considered toxins when they're no longer, in our bodies serving a function. They're now waste. It's like you eat food, you digest what you need, and it can't sit inside you forever. At one point or another, you need to poop it out. And emotions are the same thing. They're, chemicals that are produced in your brain and run in your blood and in your flesh and make your muscles do things, and they can trigger certain narratives and thoughts in our minds, because the stories we tell ourselves are our ego's way, more or less, of gauging reality and staying rooted in reality, because we live in a relative world, so stories are necessary in that sense. But sometimes, like when we know we need to be seen in order to carry out what God is telling us to do, what our soul, what our intuition is driving us to do, we need to be seen, and we need to be ready to let go of some of those stories. And in order to do that, we need to expand the capacity of our nervous system to hold sensation, because releasing, healing, letting go, I'm getting the craziest, most wonderful, beautiful energy washing over me right now. It feels like a blanket. I would call that anointing. It feels like an anointment. But yeah, we need to be able to hold space physiologically in our flesh, in our bodies, to release these things. And just think about it this way. You can't digest more than you can chew at once. you can only bite a bite of food that's no bigger than the inside of your mouth. And emotions are the same way. The body already has kind of a natural way of holding on until it is safe to let go. So that could be another very important message for somebody in here. I really do not want anyone to think or feel that they should be ashamed of themselves for holding on to emotions. There's so much, I think that there is a tremendous borderline inexplicable nuance when it comes to emotions and emotional release and what's appropriate depending on the context in regards to releasing emotions. And a lot of people like to just talk about this isolated idea that you need to release your emotions, you need to, here are all the tools to do it. But is anybody acknowledging that sometimes it's impossible? Is anyone acknowledging the danger of doing that if you're not able to or ready to? And is anybody acknowledging that the nervous system only has so much bandwidth, and what they think your emotional release should look like might not be at all what your body actually needs? I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. I don't. And that's one thing that irks me about the nuance and context that can get lost in translation, especially on social media. And sometimes even in person. A lot of people don't realize these things or know these things or trust their bodies enough to let their bodies tell them, this is what I have the capacity for right now. It's like we're designed to operate in cycles. We're designed to sleep a certain amount or within a range and wake, be awake within a certain range. It is not viable to survive staying awake for 200 hours in a row and sleeping for 10, right? Like, that's just a recipe for psychological collapse. That's kind of what I'm saying. And from person to person, everybody is unique and different. And so this is just a reminder to listen to your body. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say today. Don't be afraid to be seen. And if you feel called, if you feel like it's time to share yourself with the world, even though maybe your fear of judgment or your insecurities are holding you back, then I would suggest to apply some of the tools that I, talked about. Get in touch with your body, build a dialogue, build a relationship with your body, start to understand what your emotions are communicating with you, and don't just decide this means this if you're not certain. Communicate, be open, listen, ask questions towards yourself. That's kind of the main thing. Adapt or adopt somatic practices to help your body make space for certain emotions to kind of move through, because when those move through, the accompanying attached stories to those old emotions will also arise. And instead of reacting to that, fighting it, resisting it, you can become the witness. You can witness the emotional release on a physiological level, which includes emotions, and you can witness the story come up, and you can consciously make the choice to identify a new story, such as, I am here fulfilling my God-given mission. I am here standing strongly and confidently in my purpose, and I am not being held back by a fear of what other people think of me. I may still feel the fear, and it's totally okay. I still may hear that story replaying over and over, but practicing actually somatically letting go of it and acting in alignment with your truth, with your soul, with your purpose and your mission, that consistency will rewire your brain. And sooner or later, you're going to get to a point where you forgot what it felt like to be afraid of judgment. You're going to be speaking on a stage in front of thousands of people, hundreds of people. And I think it's funny how I said that, thousands or maybe hundreds, and feeling natural and at ease. And it's just, this is it. It's the practice. The time is now. So let this be your encouragement. Sending you lots of love. If you want to work with me personally, I offer intuitive readings and would love to share some guidance and wisdom with you personally. Check the description. If you don't see anything in there that looks like it would suit you personally, you want to work on something specific, you can always just reach out, and I'm happy to figure out how I can be of service to you, because that's what I want to do. I just want to share. And for any reason, you know, if you feel like you could be supported working with me, just reach out, and we can talk, we can figure something out. And that's it. Okay. Bye.